Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and in today's video we are installing the gauges and the AC vents, wiring them. We are building and installing a wiring panel to go underneath the dash. We're installing the simple stage bump box controller, and we are also installing a 6-gang switch panel and the circuit box for it. And then we are finally going to reassemble the interior completely. I have spent earlier this morning drawing up some diagrams here. So here's my pinouts here. So this stuff is going to like the neutral safety switch, reverse light switch, trans brake buttons, the buttons on the shifter. So like I'm numbering the connectors, writing out the pin numbers, the colors of the wire and what they are. Left a couple open pages here. So here's kind of, I just went through a run through of my accessories and saw what I wanted to have switch controlled, what I wanted to have relay controlled. And then here is the switch controlled, somewhat of a diagram here. It kind of looks like gibberish, but this is kind of giving you the run through of my trans brake and scramble button, the simple stage for the bump box, boost controller on the scramble button, transmission fan. Here's my relay controlled setup here. I'm going to run my fuel pump, oil pump, and my gauges all off of just key on source relays. And then there is the gauge diagram for the different wires coming off of the gauges. So I've been putting a lot of time and effort into planning out how I want to do this. I want to do it right the first time, do it once, and have some fun with this thing. That's what it's all about. As you can see, I've already got 2 of the gauges mounted up here. We've got one more gauge to mount up right here, and we're going to do a fuel pressure gauge. So got my AFR, boost, and then we'll have fuel pressure right there. So what I've been using are these Fernco couplers. They are 2" by 1.5 inch. Got these at Lowe's. There's a part number right there, P1056-215, and cutting them up. So you cut them kind of just right up in here, and then about right up in there. You'll end up with something about like this. I did find that when the gauges are in there, you have to trim some of the outer edge right here along that. So there's a third one in there. Just waiting on that gauge to arrive. But another thing I'll note that I've done is I have removed the ducting from behind the dash. So that's one thing that is going to make a whole lot of room. Also on this ducting here, this is the body control module mount. So we're gonna have to cut this sucker off. Just take a saw and I'm gonna cut right along the bottom there. And they've already kind of given us a couple tabs to mount it off of right there and right there that are flush with the back side of it. So we're gonna trim this sucker off the ducting, and we'll get this sucker mounted up in there for the body control module. Another thing I've been working on, for one, is going through removing everything, getting all the old loom off. We're gonna be re-looming all of the engine bay wiring. But before we do that, we got to get internal wiring and all this stuff knocked out, so we know if there's anything else coming through here, we don't loom it too early. This is going to go underneath the dash on the back of that AC panel there. This was actually a motor mount for a mini bike that I had used a while back, but we are repurposing this sucker. These holes they're here, so we're going to use, I think, this one and that one will mount it to the back in there. I've got my air fuel ratio gauge controller right here, and then we'll have the relays down along here, so they'll all be kind of pushed over this way, running the wiring, so all the wiring comes off of this side, which would be in there, and then wiring can come through where that factory hole is as well. And I've got a bulkhead to put over that. All right, so we've got some new parts in here, and I can't help myself but to go ahead and tear into them. So here's our fuel pressure gauge that we have. I've already went ahead and popped it in there. So there's all of our gauges mounted up. Pretty slick. And here we have the simple stage. Basically just a deactivation timer. And you can see there's all the information if you want to get one yourself. What it basically does is you tie this into your trans brake into your bump button, and this allows you to bump for minute parts of a second. So this is to allow us to bump in without having needing a big old trans brake controller or high dollar setup. Nice and simple right there. And then here's the other part we were waiting on here. Here's our switch panel, 6-gang switch panel. Comes with the preloaded fuse and relay box. And these are pretty nice. You just run a big battery positive. You run your accessory, a little ground, and then it comes with this setup here and a long cord to mount this wherever you want. You can mount this in your engine bay or wherever you want. And then you have your 6 inputs right here. And that's where they come out of right there. So now we can go forward with getting everything laid out for this wiring. So starting with our switch controller right here, I was initially planning on do a delete panel for this and then mount it kind of somewhere in here. But the bracket that it comes with would put it spaced off pretty about that far. And I'll insert a picture of where the shifter sits now, so that is not gonna work. But after sitting and looking at it for some time, this spot right here is just about perfect for this. I mean, that is a perfect fit. It is flush with the top right there. So the ashtray can still open right there. And this is where the factory traction control button went. Of course, we're not using that anymore, so that is just perfect. So the easy part is figured out, mounting out where to put the switch controller. So now where to put the circuit box. I already had this kind of mapped out here, but I'm just not thinking this is gonna work. My only problem is this is gonna be pretty high up under the dash, and to open this up and get in and out of there, the serviceability of it might be a pain in the butt if it's all the way up there. So thinking about dropping this sucker actually down to right here. The simple stage, of course, would move up here somewhere, and then, you know, that can leave this upper area for any additions we need to make, and it keeps the serviceability nice and easy, keeping this sucker to lower, relays and all that lower, and then we can have kind of our different kind of accessories and stuff mounted up top. Boom, so here is our panel coming together. There's our wideband setup, simple stage, and it also had a switch, a 1 and 2. This is for adjusting the timing of the simple stage. I had to mount that up there as well. I put this heat shrink around it. It was numbered, but it was just a circuit board, so I put this heat shrink around it just to kind of give it a good cover, and then mounted it right there. Here's our fuse block mounted up. We are moving right along. Got this relay mounted, got to tighten it up, got us some P-clips in here holding everything nice and square. So about to start making some first connections here. Got some wiring knocked out here. We got our negatives combined for these fellas. The green and white are soldered together because that's where they need to go. I got the yellow soldered to a long piece. This goes to the trans brake solenoid. Here's our power coming over here to the number 1 slot, which will be our first switch. And then also in the first switch is our power to our trans brake. So that's his power to the simple stage. This is power to the trans brake, and this blue wire needs to be coming out of the trans brake button. One last thing I need to add to this is a couple terminal blocks. I'm gonna put in like a big positive and negative stud right here. That'll be isolated from the panel, of course, but 2 studs, and bring in battery cables from the battery to be a main power source for the relays and everything. All right, so we've got our main under dash harness wrapped up and everything routed the way it needs to be. And now I have this panel mocked up here. And it's looking pretty slick. Just got to figure out where all these wires go. Now they're labeled out and everything, but got to route them. But we're about ready to put the dash back in for the last time. got the wires all routed back there somewhat cleanly, and I stuck a P-clip up here off of this gauge mounting bracket there, and mounted that up so we don't have it thudding around on the radio. Alright, so we should be going in with the center console for the last time. The only other thing I need to do is get this block off in, but we can put the shifter in and the center console and leave the top plate of the center console off for now and still access that. But I'm going to go ahead and get it in, get the shifter lower part of the bracket bolted in, and get that ball rolling. So that's going to do it for this video, because basically the interior is all done. I will make a video later on doing the rest of the wiring under the hood, but I'm not there yet. I got a lot more installing to do under the hood before I'm ready to loom and we'll finish wire, all that stuff. Next video, I'm not quite sure what it's going to be yet. I know that I've got to finish disassembling the engine to get it to the machine shop. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff under the hood I can start installing, and I need to finish the radiator mounts as well. So the next video will probably be disassembling the motor, installing stuff under the hood, finishing the radiator mounts and all that good stuff. But for now, this sucker is all knocked out in here. And I even didn't film it, but I got all the wiring for the most part routed through here and over to the box. So I still got to clean all up that in the corner later, but for now we're basically all assembled under here, and it is looking awesome. That looks so good. And for any of y'all who care, kind of got back into riding a little bit of dirt bikes again, so I'll post a couple clips here at the end of the video.
Go McKenzie. All right, she's going for it.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Look at her go. Is she gonna go over the jump? She is. Oh my goodness. Whee! She got a wheelie. All right.